there's a learning experience in everything. And as long as you don't consider failures in the same way that most people consider failures, if you consider them stepping stones and learning experiences, and you take it one day at a time, and you're continuously working on your art and working on yourself to be a better artist, to be a better human being, that's what's important. And it's not just for you, it's for everybody around you, because if you're improving yourself, you're helping to improve what I call is the bubble of people around you, because we can only improve upon our own space.
Welcome to the Female Entrepreneur Musician Podcast with Bree Noble. Bree is a musician, entrepreneur, speaker, and founder of Women of Substance Music Radio and Podcast. Bree's interviews with successful female musicians and industry pros are both inspirational and informational. She also answers your questions about the music business. Bree is on a mission to help you create great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business, and to truly become a female entrepreneur musician.
Hey, this is Bree Noble, and I am so honored that you are listening to the Female Entrepreneur Musician Podcast, where we talk about making great music, connecting with your audience, and growing your business. And before we get to this week's great guest, I want to mention that I have a new free resource on the website at FEM65.com. That's F as in female, E as in entrepreneur, musician.com. And it is the Musician's Profit Path Blueprint. So recently I did the Musician's Profit Path Masterclass, where I went through the 5 stages of music career growth, and I explained each stage, what you should be doing during each stage. And I've created a blueprint from that because people just absolutely love this masterclass. People said, this just makes complete sense. It's going to make it so much easier for me to know what to do when, and also to know what not to focus on so you're not wasting time and money. So I created this blueprint that explains, or is all written out for you, the names of the 5 stages, what to focus on during each stage. So if you want to grab that, that is over at femmusician.com/profit path. So go on over there and grab this new resource. I think it's going to be really helpful for you to help you know where you're at right now in your career by kind of comparing it to what you're doing right now and the different benchmarks that you've hit, and then helping you know when it's time to move to the next stage and what you should be doing in that stage. So grab that at femmusician.com/profit path. Now to our awesome interview. You're going to love this guest. She is of like mind with me, as I find so many of my guests tend to be. I guess I attract people that have similar opinions to me, but she's just such an encouraging, interesting artist, and the journey that she's been on, I think you guys will really resonate with, and she's so passionate. So I am going to let you know a little bit about Emii. With her extensive martial arts background and her passion for science fiction and comic books, Emii is a unique pop star for millions of geeks around the world who are just as obsessed with Marvel Comics and Star Wars as she is. Besides having a super successful music career, Emii will be starring in the upcoming horror film Adam K with Farrah Abraham. She recently released Wait, a bright, fresh, and hopeful song produced by hitmakers The Fliptones. And if you listen to this episode to the very end, you will get to hear that track. It's like a hidden track at the end of the album. So here is my interview with Emii. So that's a little bit about Emii. So is there anything you'd like to tell our listeners about you that's maybe not in your bio, a little interesting, unique, more personal maybe?
Sure. I never get to talk about my pets. So I'll throw that in there because I don't think that's in my bio. I have a Belgian/German Shepherd named Star-Lord. He's a rescue, and his namesake, is very appropriate because, Guardians of the Galaxy, his personality is pretty spot on with Star-Lord's. So I'll leave it at that. And I also have a orange tabby named Hobbs from Calvin and Hobbes. And they love each other. That's it. They're both rescues, and I love them. So I talk about my fur babies for once.
So what do you do with them when you're touring and stuff?
Thankfully, my dad lives with me. And
Oh, that's good.
yeah, and I have a good team around me to make sure that my fur kids are well taken care of, because I do worry about them when I'm on the road, and
Totally.
I go through pet withdrawals, but it's okay
Aw.
because I'm back now.
Yay.
Yeah.
So how did you get started in music?
I always say I started singing when I came out of the womb, and it's kind of true. I mean, from when I was very, 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 very little, I'd always be singing songs and writing silly songs for people, or just, singing gibberish, or I'd jump up on somebody else's stage that wasn't meant for me as a toddler and start busting out Skinnamarink Dinky Dink to a crowd that was not expecting a toddler to hop on the stage and start singing to them. Uh, and a lot of musical theater. I was exposed to a lot of different kinds of music growing up. Thankfully, I grew up on a lot of '60s music and Motown, and a lot of different influences. So, I mean, it's always kind of been there, and it's always been a part of me.
Did you have family members that did music or encouraged you in music?
Yeah, I know my dad had his band in theater days back in the day, or so I've heard.
Hmm.
And my mom had done opera for an extended period of time before she started in social work. Um, so my family's pretty musical. I remember when we'd go on trips when I was very, very little, we would, turn on the radio and we would all harmonize with each other, which is, it's a fun memory to think about, but that was a long time ago.
Mm. So at this point, do you consider yourself a full-time musician? And how did you kind of get to the point that you're at now?
I definitely consider myself a full-time musician. I've definitely been doing a lot more acting. But I mean, music is my bread and butter now, and that's not something that I would have been able to say 10 years ago, 8 years ago. I mean, it took an extended period of time for me to get to the point where I could sustain myself on music. And it's funny because, there's this thing where not a lot of people want to actually hear about the struggle. They don't want to hear about, oh, it's not an overnight success. What do you mean it's not an overnight success? I just heard of you. No, there was actual work put into this. Um,
Oh, you're in the right place because our audience loves to hear about the struggle because it helps them not feel like they're alone, you
yeah,
know?
exactly. And that's the reality. I mean, I do. There is this aspect of entertainment where you have to understand, like, people want to escape. They want to escape from the reality, and a lot of the times that's why we seek out our own entertainment, because we want that fantasy. We want to be taken away from our problems, and I'm totally okay with that. But in terms of people like you and your listeners, I want to make sure that it's clear that it's not something that happens overnight. It's a very, very real thing. It's something that can happen, and it's something that is attainable under the right circumstances. There is luck involved. Like, you can't. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's definitely luck involved, but uh, most of it is the absolute determination and passion, and a lot of hard work. And
Well, I always say you have to make your own luck because
exactly.
you can't just like sit in your house and hope someone's going to discover you.
Yeah, and that,
You have to get
yeah.
yourself out there.
No, absolutely. And like back in the day when the internet was not the way it is now, that was kind of the mindset is, okay, somebody's got to discover me because I'm
Hmm.
talented. So somebody's going to come to my small town and find me, and then I'm going to get signed to a major label and everything's going to be all hunky dory. No, that's not how it really happened then, and that's not how it's going to happen now. And especially, like, at least with how the internet is now, at least you can put yourself out there as an artist, and connect to fans in a way that you wouldn't have been able to a decade ago. So that is definitely beneficial, in a very different way than it was.
Yeah, I mean, and then a lot of people now instead of getting discovered, they think, well, I just need to go viral, online.
Yeah,
I don't think of it that way. Like the
no.
chances of that happening what you need to do is build a web of connections because
Yes.
every person's connected to other people.
Hmm.
It's not about viral. I mean, the
Yeah.
chances of you getting millions of views.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's totally not about some viral phenomenon because the other thing you have to realize, and that people, I hope people would realize, is that, a viral phenomenon is like a trend. Like, oh, everybody's
Yep.
gonna hop on this trend for a minute, and then the next minute they're gonna hop on the next trend. You need something that's sustainable. You need something that is continuous and that is you, that is purely you, that is genuinely you, whoever you are. Because that's the only way to get uh, to reach the fans that are going to be your fans. You can't try and copy what somebody else has done because they have their fans. They have whatever they're good at. They have their style. You need to tap into what is you as an artist and continuously make content. And even if you've got one or two people listening, fine, cool, great. You've reached out to one or two people. Give it time. Keep creating content. Keep being you, and more people who are attracted to what talent you have to bring to the world, they'll come. It just takes time and it takes perfecting your craft. And the thing that it took me a few years to learn this, but I think when I was like 14 or something, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this music thing, but I'm only going to give myself till I'm 16. And then, I got to figure something else out. And then I got to the age of 16. I was like, all right. I can't quit now. I can't quit now. I'm going to give myself until I'm 19. And then, I better start considering no, there's no. So, I mean, it got to the point where I finally realized, I think, maybe I matured a little bit at some point. And I thought, you know what? Music is me. Music is what I need to be doing. Whether at the end of my life I'm performing at Madison Square Garden or I'm singing to people on a subway in Manhattan, it doesn't matter. I will die doing what I love, and there's nothing stopping me. I can't not do this for the rest of my life, regardless of what quote success unquote I attain.
Such a good point. I love that. I mean, if it is a part of
Yeah.
you, then do you ever get there?
Yeah, and I mean getting there, in my opinion, is being okay that, whatever external uh success you get from it is not the same thing as the internal. Like, you have to be okay with putting yourself out there, and you have to be okay with what you create, and you've got to be okay with you first. I mean, that's yeah,
Absolutely. So I'm curious, like when you were younger and you thought, well, like, I'm going to give myself till this
yeah.
age, what did you think, was going to be the thing that told you, yes, I've made it or whatever at that point? And then, in relation to
Mhm.
that, what actual progress did you see? Because you obviously kept going because of something. So
Yeah.
like how can you measure that progress without like, saying you made it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and we get this vision in our heads when we're kids, of what society might expect success to look like in the entertainment industry. Oh, hey, yeah, I made all this money. I got a mansion. I got a fancy car. I can support my family. I mean, you can create visually in your head whatever you want. But in terms of what was actually uh, the reality, I, you know, I would make really, really, really small steps. I mean, when I started really taking music seriously when I was about 13, 14 years old, number one, I made my parents homeschool me. I kind of threw a hissy fit. That's another it's another story in itself. Um, but I did a lot of community theater, and then I would start doing auditions. And there were a lot of really, really little things that frustrated me so much. I didn't know how to dress. All my clothes were hand-me-downs. You know, I, and we didn't have, I didn't have a penny to my name, which, a lot of
Mm.
people can relate to, starting from the bottom, when things are really, really, really bad. You look at where, say, your favorite pop or R&B artist is, and it's such a world of difference that it seems so unattainable. But focusing in on your own craft, you know, like learning proper mic technique. I remember I practiced this song and I practiced and I practiced, and I must have been like 16. And I went to this audition and I gave what I thought was like the best performance ever. Nobody heard it because my mic
Oh no.
technique was horrible and I didn't know it. And I thought, oh God, I just blew it. And then I realized by watching other people and watching the judges' reactions to the other people, the things that I needed to work on, and not just mic technique, but also presentation. Also, physical fitness was obviously a plus that I had not, I had not quite realized that for a very, very long time, and not just for aesthetics, because I want everybody to remember that that again, it's entertainment to entertainment. My job is to stay physically healthy so that I can sing, so I can dance on stage. And in terms of my own aesthetics, I have a certain appearance that I want to convey to the world. That does not mean that it is realistic. That does not mean that uh, anybody else should strive for what I have worked for, if that makes any sense. Because image wise, like it's just an image. It's just an image. It does not reflect the heart. It does not reflect the passion. It does not reflect the actual substance that goes into the art. It is the fantasy that you give to the fans, if that makes sense.
It does. And it is important. I mean, people will often see you before they hear
Yeah.
you, and they may not hear you if they,
Yeah.
if they're not sure they want to
Yeah.
when they see you.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I like, that you were talking about physical fitness in the way that it helps you be on stage, because that is so important. You have to be able to move, you have to be able to sing while you're moving, and you have to be able to breathe correctly.
Oh yeah. And there is there's this big thing with lip syncing, and here's the thing. I'm not going to lip sync. I'm never going to lip sync. I've showed up to huge shows where I wasn't even sure if they had a microphone for me because the other acts were lip syncing, which is horrifying.
Wow.
When you don't even have the tracks to even consider lip syncing. I'm like, there's no lead vocal on this. There's no way that if they don't have a microphone for me, I'm totally screwed.
That kind of blows me away with the whole Milli Vanilli thing. Like
Dude,
that people would actually do the lip syncing thing. It was such a huge deal when all that happened. I feel like that would have blown everything out of the water.
And here's the thing: like, I actually kind of feel bad for Milli Vanilli right now. After meeting with various artists and understanding the reasoning behind the way they decided to perform on that day.
I've thought the same thing. Like, that just seems so unfair.
Yeah, like, and I'm not knocking it. The only thing that I ask, if you have to lip sync or if you have to sing over a lead track, I've totally had to sing over a lead track before. Be honest about it to your fans, because they are there for the experience. Like, and they want the whole pop experience, like or whatever music you're doing. Like they want that experience. But be honest about it. You don't have to pull any punches for your fans. I mean, they're there to love you and they're there to be entertained. I'm not saying like ruin it for them, be like, hey guys, today I'm lip syncing. No, I mean,
right.
Don't do that, but admit that, like, hey, I've got this, and I cannot ever see myself doing this. But after talking to people, like, I genuinely, like, I feel for them, because I know some very, very talented artists who had shows booked with, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and they'd have laryngitis or like something really, really horrible. And they'd be like, listen, the show has to go on. I can't let my fans down. I cannot let my fans down.
Right.
They know I'm talented. I can't, if, it would absolutely break their hearts to let their fans down. So I feel for them. I totally do. I thankfully have not gotten to the point where it's been so bad. Like, I've performed like with pneumonia before, and that sucked. I know, I think a few months ago I performed with, they put the background lead in the track as a little bit of support structure, because I was getting over laryngitis. But
right.
When I hit those high notes, people could hear the high notes. And you still do a cappella and you still do all that, and you cover all your bases because you want the fans to be happy. That's why we do it. Or at least that's why I do it.
Totally. I totally agree
Yeah.
with that. So, do you think that paying your dues is an important part of artist development? I mean, do you think that if someone were to happen to get like
Mhm.
discovered, quote, or, just fall into like a fantastic music career, do you think they would have lost something by not going through that paying your dues
I
period?
really do. I really, really do. And I mean, here's the thing, I can't gauge anybody else's reality because the only reality that I know is my own. But going back, as difficult as things were trying to get to this point, there's absolutely nothing I would change. Absolutely nothing. I mean, there's advice that I would give other people so that they could avoid certain pitfalls of the music
Hmm.
industry. But there's a learning experience in everything, and as long as you don't consider failures in the same way that most people consider failures, if you consider them stepping stones and learning experiences, and you take it one day at a time, and you're continuously working on your art and working on yourself to be a better artist, to be a better human being, that's what's important. And it's not just for you, it's for everybody around you, because if you're improving yourself, you're helping to improve what I call is the bubble of people around you, because we can only improve upon our own space. So, yeah.
For sure. I mean, I feel like it's important to go through that
Yeah,
struggle
I
period
agree.
because it will make you so much stronger when you do
Yeah, and
arrive, quote, arrive. There
yeah,
is no such thing as arriving in my
yeah,
opinion,
you're
but
absolutely right. And you have to build up quite a bit of resilience because it's not an easy industry, and it's not to say that there is any industry that is actually
right.
easy. But you do have to have a thick skin. And you have to be able to eat problems for breakfast, which I've learned to do pretty efficiently, I'd say.
Totally. And I think when you get to a certain level, you're so much more
Yeah,
visible that you're going to have a lot more criticism around
yeah,
you, even if you really don't deserve it. There's so many haters out there for
yeah.
stupid
But
reasons and no good reasons and just because they makes
but
them feel better. And you have to have that thick
yeah.
skin,
But
you
I mean,
know?
here's another way to look at it, which I think is really, really important because there's always going to be the haters, and the people who criticize you, and the couch critics and all that stuff. Um, so when somebody loves something, when somebody likes something, they support it. They tell their friends. It's more of an organic, natural thing. When somebody hates something, they complain about it. They very audibly hate it. Now, under both circumstances, it's still entertainment. And this is such a weird concept to grasp, or at least it was for me at first, because whether somebody loves or hates something, they're still talking about it. They're still being entertained to some degree by it because it's fueling them to start a conversation or to start a hate group, which is terrible. It's like a terrible thing to say because they always say don't feed the trolls. In entertainment, don't feed the trolls. It's just going to make it worse. But if people are talking about it, if you create something that one person loves and one person really does not like and wants to tell the world that they hate it, guess what? You've entertained both of those people, whether they like it or not. I mean, that's just reality. So I've kind of learned to, I accept, like, if somebody doesn't like something I do, I'm not here to create for them. They're not the people I'm creating for. But I'm glad that they are spending enough time to promote what I do by hating it, which is a really strange thing to
Good
say.
point. I mean, indifference is probably
Yes,
the
it is
worst thing,
absolutely the
right?
worst thing. You do not want mediocrity. You don't want people being like, I feel kind of lukewarm about this artist. No, it's not going to accomplish anything. Just go for it.
I love it. I love your attitude. So, was there any particular like event or thing that happened that really kind of shifted your career into a more professional, where you are
I
now?
think once I moved to New York, New York is really where I consider myself becoming an artist, because when I moved from Ohio, I took the Greyhound bus from Youngstown to New York, and my first apartment was a basement in Jamaica, Queens. Um,
Oh
yeah,
my
I
gosh.
mean, like these are the I don't want to say cliche starving artist situations, but they kind of that sounds like it. But that's
Yeah, it
yeah,
pretty much reads that way in your bio.
hey,
I was like,
bagels and
yep.
ramen.
Yeah, that's why I was asking about paying your
Yeah.
dues. It's totally
No,
what people talk about.
absolutely. I mean, thankfully now I can eat bagels and ramen and feel okay about it, but there was a period of time when I, was finally able to support myself not to eat it, and I was like, I'm gonna give that stuff up for a really long time because I got a little sick of it. Um, but yeah, it's been interesting. But
So was there something in that New York period that kind of shifted things for you?
well, when I first got there, like my first objective was doing as many auditions and open mics as I could and finding producers who were willing to work with me. And the first producer who gave me the time of day, her name was Barb Morrison. She's still kicking ass to this day. Um, and she's a New Yorker, and I go to work at the comic book store for the regular day, and then after that, I would head over to her studio, and me and her and Chaz, her partner at the time, we would write and record all night, and then I go back to work the next day.
Yeah, I kind of wondered when you
Yeah, I didn't
slept.
get a whole lot of sleep those days, but it was worth it, and it took time for me to get to the point where anybody else um, could remotely believe in what I was capable of. And, Barb Morrison was the first, I'd say, to really be like, hey, you know what? I think you got something. I know you're broke. I know you've got nothing. Let's create. Let's do this. Let's give it a chance. Um, and, after trying so many times to work with other people, like, I mean, and there's a long, 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 long list of attempts before finding Barb. It does get discouraging, but you have to believe in yourself first, which I think well, depending on the size of your ego. I mean, it was a difficult thing for me to do, but I still couldn't stop because, it's music, and I knew that I was stuck in a good way. But yeah, I mean, once I met Barb, I finally at least hit my stride in thinking, okay, you know what? Finally, somebody else sees that I'm capable. What can I do with this? How can I improve this? Let's see where this goes. And, from there, I started kind of expanding more on, meeting people and networking, which was, I think networking for me was probably one of the most difficult things to do because I was very, I don't want to say antisocial because it's not that I didn't love people. I was just, you know, you grow up with no money and your family moves around a lot, you don't get a good you don't get a good social experience for the most part. And if you're a
Mm,
bookworm who likes sci-fi before sci-fi was cool, then yeah, that's gonna happen. But it definitely took me quite a while to be to to even remotely get to the point of, oh, maybe she's a social butterfly. She just took a really, really long time to flutter her wings.
So during this period, were you financing, all the creation in the studio, or did, she kind of help you with that?
I
Or
mean, I was so lucky to have found her because I literally, like, I had nothing. Like, and even if you're living in a basement in Jamaica, Queens, it's still
it's still expensive.
$700 a month, which is why you live on ramen and bagels. Um, and she, like, literally, like, on their off time, like they would take me and we would write, and like if it wasn't for them, I would have absolutely had nothing. Like I wasn't able to finance anything. Like there was just no way. And my
Wow.
parents, there was no way they could help. My dad has been disabled since I was very young, and my mom tried to hold down the fort as best as she could. So I mean, when I say I went to New York without a penny in my pocket, I mean it. I mean, it's really difficult when you don't have a support structure, but it doesn't mean that it can't be done. It just means that, you really gotta do your best to be resourceful. It's not necessarily about
Yeah.
the resources, because not everybody has them. It's about being as resourceful as you can be and making the most of what you got, as opposed to, oh, well, I need this particular tool to get this done. No, no, actually, you probably don't. I mean, you just got to find another way.
Awesome. That's great advice. So fast
Mhm.
forward a little bit, what would you say has been the most mind-blowing experience in your career? Like when you pinch yourself, you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm here.
I would say it's a toss up between working with Snoop Dogg uh, and my
Uh-huh.
performance in Beirut, Lebanon, which was it was for 25,000 people, and I performed with Flo Rida and
Wow.
Ayaz. And I mean, when I got to Beirut, I had no idea what to expect. I thought, oh, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna open for somebody. Nobody's gonna know who I am. That was absolutely not the case. Like everybody knew who I was. They knew the words to the songs. Like I, my mind is still blown talking about it. I can barely get a word out right now. Um,
Wow. So how did they get to that point? Like, had you been
no,
marketing over
no, that's
there?
the thing. Like even like my label didn't like nobody no nobody knew. Nobody knew. And it's funny because me and my road manager went out there, and everybody else has their posses, and the Energy Music Tour, they took really good care of us out there. But we had no idea what to expect, and I'm like, to this day, like I'm still pinching myself that ever happened, and that I can't wait for the day when I can go back out to Beirut and see my fans there, and also work with some of the really, really talented people that I met over there. I mean, it was
And maybe headlining your own stuff,
absolutely,
right?
or yeah,
That'd
I
be
mean, or
awesome.
just the Energy Music Tour. I mean, that was so, I love performing with other artists. Like, well, when they're
Mm.
cool. When they're not cool, I still love performing with them. They just might not like, it's okay. It happens. It's the whole diva thing, It's,
Yep,
it's all good. We're all human. We have our good days and our bad days.
for sure. So, since you're so well rounded, I mean, I didn't like in your bio, it talks about it, but we didn't even talk yet about your acting and your martial
Yeah.
arts. I mean, how has that all contributed into this like synergy of growing your fan
I mean,
base?
it's funny because in terms of like growing my fan base, I never thought martial arts would be a key component of that. Like it's always been a part of me. Um, it's been like my yoga. Like that's the easiest way to describe it. It's helped me tap into that necessary discipline that I believe that everybody should find their thing that keeps them centered. Um,
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing my daughter's just started
awesome.
karate and she's almost 8 and she's like the kind of kid that
Oh
needs
yeah,
discipline and
yeah.
organization and she's always getting in trouble in class for
Mhm.
talking and not following directions and I'm hoping that this is really going to, make her more responsible and
Oh
focused
yeah.
and all
Yeah, and
that.
I mean if it's not, if it's not karate, it might be something else. Like there might be something that just, really really hits home for her or for anybody. And it might not be martial arts. It was for me. But it's you got to find your yoga. That's what I say.
Mm.
But I mean it really I really think that it's helped me maintain a pretty good level of sanity throughout this spectacular journey. Um, but in terms of like fan base, like I'm always really open, and like I take lots of pictures like of everything and anything, and that wasn't always okay. Like sometimes I would get resistance from professionals in the industry saying, "Hey, that nerd stuff you do, like that geeky crap, like, I don't think it's gonna appeal to your pop demographic." And I'm like, I don't think you've ever been to Comic-Con. Like, have you, like,
Totally.
seriously, like, can you go out and connect with people and not just make an assumption based on, what pop artists you might be viewing? Because everybody has their own thing and everybody connects on a different level. And I have no qualms about being me. If somebody else has a problem with it, I'm sorry for you. Like it's just
Well, and there's so many pop artists out there. Why not use the things that make you
yeah, and like
unique?
it's not it's just you. Like people want to know you. They want to connect to the artist. Like and you want to be able to relate to your fans, and you want to have the right fans. You don't want to connect with people who you don't want it to be contrived. How's that? Like you
Right.
don't want to put on
Yeah.
a show and then, you go and meet a fan someday and they're like, "Wow, you are totally not at all what I had hoped you were going to be. I'm super disappointed. Like this sucks." Like why would you want to do that to anybody? Like this crap. Like no, no. No, it's not about that. Again, like it's just when they say, you got to be you. And again, like it took me a long time to be okay with that because, when you're growing up, when you're in your early teens, you're still figuring out who that you is. But, once you do and you just let that freak flag fly.
I love it. So I'm guessing from what you just said that your fan bases are not separate. Like they're
No,
all kind
no.
of combined into this one
Yeah, yeah.
thing.
I mean, and like like for certain social media outlets, because I do have a social media team now. I'm always on, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I read everything. Um, if they post something, I have them sign it with like e-team, because I want it to be clear when it's coming from me and when it's not. And it's I respond all the time. Sometimes it takes me a while, but I do
Mm.
respond. But yeah, everything it's a melting pot of everything.
So you've gotten people find you because of your acting and then they discover your
Yeah.
music and
Oh
vice
yeah. And like
versa.
I've got so many martial artist friends on Instagram and music and acting. Like it's I just say it's my one big family. Like we're all different. We all have our own unique interests. And when you have friends, when you have family, like you guys aren't all the same. It's not all like cookie cutter crap. It's you love the person for their unique tastes, their perspectives, it's not only because of one thing. It's not, you got to be multifaceted. Most people are, unless they're hiding a whole bunch of crap, in which case, good for them, whatever works.
Ah. So what's your take on kind of the indies place in the music industry now? Do you think it's still just as hard and people feel like they still need a record deal, or do you think now it's kind of cool to be an
You
indie?
know, I don't want to say it. Like, I think it's cool to be okay with being an artist under any circumstance. Period. Like
Mm.
I think it's cool to be. I've been with an independent label for, oh my goodness, I have such a poor concept of time. It's been years. Let's just say years. And recently we partnered with Cobalt, who handles a lot of major artists as well. But the industry is really changing a lot, especially with the ability for artists to put themselves out there. Um, but I think the most important thing, like the thing that is cool, um, whether you're independent or whether you're made, like I don't care. I hate putting labels on things, because I don't want it to sully the experience of the person who's trying to connect, if that makes any sense. Um, Being you and doing what you love to do and pursuing that genuinely because it feeds your soul and because it makes you happy and because it makes other people happy, like that's freaking cool. That's cool when you can let yourself
Yeah, I just
go.
want people to know that
Oh
it's
my God, it's not just
okay
okay.
to be yourself and be an
Yes.
indie and not feel like, oh, I'm
No.
I'm not cool enough because I don't have a
Oh,
major label
hell
behind me. I mean,
no. You do not need a
yeah,
major label
yeah.
behind you. Screw that. I mean, if you find a major label, let me say this, if you find a group of people that happen to be associated with a major label that believes in you as an artist, as an individual, awesome. But that goes for anything. That goes for an indie label. That goes for your friends, your fans, your family. Like it's it's not about major or indie. It's about you, and it's about doing what you love, and it's not a, hey, you're not cool if you're not signed to a major label. That's crap. It's total crap, especially now. I mean, there's so many huge acts
Yeah.
that have started from the bottom and have worked their way to mind-blowing success. And regardless of mind-blowing success or not, like you doing your thing and getting it out there and doing what you love, that is such difficult thing to be able to grasp onto and to be able to continuously do, because, from a young age, we're a lot of people are trained, and I was too, like, okay, you're going to go to school, you're going to get a job, you're going to get married, you're going to have kids, you're going to have a house, you're going to have a car, you're going to raise your kids, and you're going to be grandparents someday. And, your life is going to be linear in this aspect. Which my life hasn't gone anything like that. And if it did, and I was happy with it, then cool, great. Wherever you want your life to
Right.
go, that's awesome. But don't let anybody put you in a box and say, this is what you have to do. You being you is cool. Screw the labels.
Agreed.
Screw the labels.
Agreed. And you can be an artist like you and live a totally different life, or you can be like me,
Yeah.
where I did all those things. And then at some point I said,
Yes.
music needs to take over, and then did a whole switcheroo, and I still have the family and the house and all that stuff, but I also did the music. So
Exactly.
you can start
and
where you're
never
at.
Too late. It's never ever too late. There's this whole like ageism crap. And I'm gonna say this real quick because this actually was a topic.
Thank you. My
Please,
audience needs to hear
please.
this again, because I say it all the time.
I'm not gonna say who it was, all right, because that would be terribly disrespectful. But a few years ago, I had a meeting with a very, very well-known major music publishing company, right? And they asked me how old I was. I think I might have been like 25 at the time. And they stopped for a second. They were like, "Is that how old you actually are?" And I'm like, "Yes." And it got into the conversation that, hey, like sometimes major artists, they knock a few years off. Let's you're not 25, you're 21. Hey, you're not 24, you're 19. No, 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 no. Do you know how old I am? I'm 31 years young. That's it. Do you know how, I mean, come on. It does not matter. Age is a number.
Yeah, and you're 31 and you're kicking
Dude, age,
ass. So
yeah,
hot.
I mean, it's
That's what
not
I say.
it's not about the number. It's about the quality of the music you make. It's about who you are and what you're doing and what you're trying to give, like what you have to offer and what you worked for. Age is, I don't want people to, man, I was just in Roanoke, Virginia for Pride, performing at Pride, and I had such a great conversation with this a couple of 13-year-olds, and I had them guess my age, and bless their little hearts, they thought I was in my early 20s, and I told them, I'm like, no, 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 I want you to understand something. Like you may go through a decade where everything is crap, where you're not getting to where you want to be. It does not mean that you need to give up. It does not mean that you have to conform to what everybody else thinks you need to conform to. If you want to do music, you do music. You do it on your own timeline. You don't do it on the timeline that you think society wants you to partake in. I mean, like, it's total. Like, I mean, I could totally just let out a string of expletives right now because it makes me so angry when people get on this subject. Because it's not like, again, like there's so many artists. Like, it's not about age. It's not about age. And I hope to actively promote that more and lean into it more, despite a lot of resistance. Like, you will go online, if you look up my age, there's some places that are like, oh, she was born in 1990. No, I was not born in 1990. I was born in 84. Get it right. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, don't do that. Don't do that to me, and don't do that to the general audience who deserves to know the reality. Because the reality, like, I get it, it's entertainment. We want to give that fantasy. We want people to be able to escape from their daily lives, but it doesn't mean that we have to create these unnecessary expectations of the future of music or the future of entertainment. Like, that's not what we should be doing. Like, we're here to create art, and we're here to make people happy. Hopefully, I mean, if you're, hopefully not here to make people angry, because that would suck. But hey, whatever. I'm not here to judge. But you know what I mean. I mean, it's like, it's not rocket science. Just be real with people. People don't need to hear that their dreams should be dashed because they hit a certain number. Like, it's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's so stupid.
Oh, that was awesome. Thank you for that rant. That was
Oh,
perfect.
good.
That's
Well, I'm
exactly
glad I
what I
could give it to
wanted.
you.
Because that's what my people
Yes.
need to hear over and over again
You
because
know
so
what?
many
Screw
people
those
tell them
people.
differently.
Put this crap on repeat. I want you to drill this into your brain. The age doesn't matter. If you are 50 years old or 60 years old and you decide, hey, you know what? I want to make some friggin' music. You go out there and you make it because you can get that craft out there. And there are people who probably need to hear it. They need it. Like we all have something to offer here.
Yeah, I mean, totally. Some of my students in the academy, like they
Awesome.
are in their 60s and they're having a
Yes.
resurgence and they're connecting
Yes.
with baby boomers and
Hell
that's their
yeah.
audience and
See,
they need
that
they've
makes me
got a lot to
happy. Like
offer.
that's gonna make my whole week better. Just hearing that. I'll tell you.
Ah,
Like I want to hear their music. Like you gotta send me some stuff. Yes,
I should. I mean, if you
dude.
like Joan Baez and
Yes,
Joni Mitchell and all that stuff, Judy
send it
Collins, I
over.
mean,
I'm
that's what they're
completely
doing
serious.
and
No,
they've
I will
found
be
their
their
audience,
audience because I have such an appreciation for people who tap into themselves and do what they feel that they need to do and give what they need to give. Like it's such an important thing for I think every single individual, whether they're expressing themselves in music or another art or professionally, I don't know, just express yourselves and be you because we all have something to offer.
So I asked this
Hmm.
question of all of my guests because I'm really my audience is curious
Hmm.
about it as well as me. Kind of break down your streams of income. I know you've got
Yeah.
the acting thing going on too. Like how do you kind of make a living with all of that, combination of things like, shows and
Yeah.
acting and merch
I mean,
sales and all that
in the
stuff?
especially in the beginning, like you work off an advance with the label. Either that or it's like back when I had my band, I had a full-time job. Like this was 10 years ago. I was in wow, quite a few bands. Funding funding the band. Um, but now it's like it's publishing, songwriting is important, but it's not the biggest piece of the pie and there's a whole huge thing about it now that things like Spotify, Pandora, like is there's going to be arguments up the wazoo for the next decade as music continuously changes and adapts in terms of publishing and what songwriters get and what percentages and there's mechanical royalties and it's a cluster insert expletive here. um,
Well, how
Oh
about how
yes,
about sync
yeah. Like
licensing? Do you
we
do
and
that?
actually, there's just been a shift now that we've partnered with Cobalt. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But also like touring, merch is really really important. Also endorsements. But I will say, if you get endorsed by a product, number one, please love the product. Don't just do it because somebody wants
Yeah.
to pay you. For the love of God, love the product. Two, tell people, hey, I love this product. They're giving me free product because I love this product and I want to promote them. Like, be open about it. Don't take on something that you don't actually like because people will feel that. Like, we know we're emotional beings. Like, we feel when that sort of crap is going on. Like, nobody needs that. We don't need it.
Yeah, and it will reflect on you because you don't want people to think, oh,
Exactly. And
she's a
like, but
sellout,
God, there's so many rants I could go on. Like, cause I was in I've done everything from like rock music, like heavy rock music to pop music to like more bubblegum stuff to more soul. I just love music, period. Like I absolutely love music. I love pop music. I love the way that it makes certain people feel. I love how it makes me feel. I love the dance, all that stuff. When I made the switch over from heavier rock into pop, a couple previous bandmates of mine really wanted to push the whole sellout thing. And here's the
Mm.
thing: if anybody ever says that to you, and you are genuinely doing what you love, please don't let it get to you. Like if it's the same thing with any other job. If you're not doing what you love, does that make you a sellout? If you have to work at McDonald's and you want to be working at like some, I don't know, Fortune 500 company, does it make you a sellout because you have to support yourself? No. No, like just take that word out of the equation. Like just stop leaning on it so much. Because I don't think that it should affect anybody in the way that it does, if that makes any sense. Like it's silly. It's silly. Like don't be hating on people unless you're promoting their stuff. Then maybe.
That's funny. So do you have a book or a resource or anything that you can recommend that kind of helped you along the way, either artistically, writing music, the music business, or self-development?
When I started out, I read everything. I read every single music book that I could get my hands on, every single music business book, every single music law book or entertainment law book, regardless of whether I could understand it or not. And surprisingly, like whether I could understand it or not, especially when I first started out, things started to sink in as the more I got experience in the real world, as opposed to what I read in the books. Certain things began to click, like, oh, I read that here. Oh, I finally get it. Okay, cool, that makes sense. So even if you can't entirely grasp it, just immerse yourself in everything. And a wise man once said to me, only floss the teeth you want to keep. There's going to be information that does not have any relevance to your existence, and it's okay. You take that, you go through life, you make your experiences, you let go of the crap you don't need, you use what you take in. So, I mean, it's, I really did immerse myself in whatever I could possibly get my hands on.
That's a good point too. Like if you have ones that you think, wow, this was really good, but I'm not sure I got all that, like go back to it in a year and see how differently you read it based upon your experiences.
Especially now with like the internet, like there's a melting pot of really, really good stuff and really not helpful stuff. Just know that going in.
So true.
But still you can also learn from the crap as well. Like, just keep an open mind and try to stay away from the bull.
Yeah, I would just say, if you don't know what to read or where to go, like ask people that you trust and get referrals, because then you'll know you're getting the right stuff. Awesome. This has been so great. So can you let people know how to find you online, all of your social handles and your website?
Instagram, I'm Emii Official. It's EMII Official. On Twitter, I'm Emii Music. Facebook, I'm Emii Official. And also, I believe on YouTube, you know what? Just Google Emii, EMII. And you know what? You'll find me and talk to me, because I will eventually reply, and then we'll have really entertaining dialogues about either music or geeky stuff or martial arts. Pick one. Emii.net.
And what's your main website?
.net.
Great. So I hope many people that are listening will reach out to her. I'm guessing, knowing that how I feel about it, that you've really connected to her today. So go check her out. Check out her music. We are playing some of her music on Women of Substance. So you will, really enjoy what she's got to offer if you've never heard of her before. Surprise. Thanks so much for spending this time with me and all of your wisdom and experience. Now go out and make great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business. Female Entrepreneur Musician has been brought to you by FEM65 and FemaleMusicianAcademy.com. With editing by Jen Eads of 317 Sound Design and music by Stella Ronson.
About last night, can't remember the last time I cried that much. Holding this pillow tight, sitting here thinking, what have I done? I hate to say you were my best mistake. It hurts to see you walk away. I can't ask you to stay, my pride won't let me do it. But you captured me, and I could never show it. 'Cause I'm far too young to say that you're the one, but are you now? Are you now? I wanna know. I will memories we made. Someday when I'm ready for the trouble we could make, we could steal forever.